Broadcasting to you live from the Orion Spiral Arm of the Milky Way Galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere outside of the Kentucky primary where Thomas Massie was unseated. My name is Brian Engelman. Today is Wednesday, May 20th, 2026. And this right here, the thing that you are watching is called the TNAM Daily Show. Larger. The TNAM Daily Show here on the new American media, because the old American media has failed you. I saw that in chat. Who said that? Where was that? Marion, because the old media failed us. Yes, we are the new American media because the old American media has failed you. They failed me. They failed us. And when I say failed, look, they succeeded at doing their diabolical deeds. They succeeded with their diabolical deeds. Okay? I just want the facts, Jack. Just the facts, Jack. Who, what, where, when, why, how. Well, some people are saying it's because of this, and other people are saying it's because of that. But regardless, this is the thing that's occurring. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. How exhausting it must be to be on a team, constantly pushing a fake agenda, constantly. The lying legacy media, the lying liberal legacy media. Liberal. Thomas Massie's out, and so is Barney Frank, deceased at 88. Dodd-Frank legislation that came into play after the great collapse of 07, 08, 09. It was a wild time for me as a first-time homebuyer. Just got settled in and the bottom fell out. Good times. That set me off on a path that I've discussed before. I don't think I'll get too in-depth with today. But was Dodd-Frank good legislation or was it not? It depends who you ask. And a whole bunch of Thomas Massie. What happened? How did we end up in this spot? Are all libertarians just secret Democrats? Pretend Democrats? Are libertarians Democrats cosplaying as pseudo-Republicans? I don't know. I think there's a Venn diagram, and I think there's a little of this, a little of that. So we're going to take a look. We're going to take a look at various perspectives. Some of you are probably happy, some of you might not be. Everybody in chat, what's up? Just seeing everybody before I even launched the show. Things got messy for Thomas Massie. Yes, they did, Kenneth. Dina, I heard $10 million paid for Massie's competitor. Yeah. Yeah, Dina saying Massie didn't want to take Israel's money. Yep, and Thomas Massie cracked a joke about trying to locate his opponent to wish him a congratulations. I think I'll play that as well. Do libertarians use liberty? Not a paid sponsor. Kenneth, I can't give it out for free. If I give away the milk for free, who's going to buy the cow? Anyway, all these stories and more on today's episode of the TNAM Daily Show. Hit the thumbs up button. Hit the like button. Then click the share show button. Send it out on X. Text it to a couple smart friends or family or neighbors. Invite some people into this bar. My name's Brian, the bartender. We're going to talk about all the stories on the television screens behind us from the Instagram feed for the New American Media and X. account for the New American Media, which is at American_media_. Follow us in all those places. At the conclusion of today's show, I will wrap up my shift and slide across your credit card tab for today's experience at my bar and restaurant. Of course, that figure will say 0, but there will be a tip line. So if anybody wants to drop a tip, multiple ways to support this content, myself, this channel, this show, this network, all of it, Patreon, Rumble, YouTube, you can sign up to become a monthly subscriber. Thank you to everybody who has. And if you haven't yet, please consider doing so. If you want to see more of something, you support it. If you're okay with it going away, you don't need to water it. You know, we're in the gardening season. You want those plants to grow, you better water them. And if you're okay with them shriveling up and going away, well, then, you know. I've interviewed Jordan Maxwell talking about currency, and money flow, and where do you keep your money on the banks, like the banks of a river. And yeah, everything is about it's about energy and tension. And if you appreciate what we do here in this bar, there's always that tip jar behind me. You can just throw it back there. But aside from signing up on a monthly for Patreon, Rumble, and YouTube, which you can, please do. Rumble Rant Tips, you just tippity tap it and throw something into the tip jar. Super Chats on YouTube, as well as Venmo, Cash App. That's my name, Brian Engelman, and PayPal is fuzzinstallment@yahoo.com, all scrolling at the bottom of the screen. So, without further delay, other than listening to the order, a pink lady or a Shirley Temple. Okay. We serve non-alcoholic drinks here too. And we serve the news as we find it. So buckle up, buttercups. The TNAM Daily Show starts now.
Your guide to the truth, thenewamericanmedia.com.
All right, everybody. In the sports world, Cleveland Cavaliers found a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, up 22 points with 7.5 minutes left. Let the Knicks come back and beat the Cavs in overtime. Just brutal. Spurs take a 1-0 series lead. They won in double overtime. So if you think about it, these are some very close conference championships. 4 teams remain. 1 team will become an NBA champion. Game 2, I believe, is tonight in Oklahoma City. So stay tuned. All right. We got a lot of news. Something is sort of breaking. Let's go here. Hit like, hit subscribe, share the show with a friend, please. Cuba. What are the 7 most dangerous words you'll ever hear? What is it? I'm from the government. and I'm here to help. It's like the 9 most terrifying words you'll ever hear. I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Okay, I guess it's 9. What's the next most terrifying batch of words that you'll hear? The Department of Justice just indicted your country's leader or former leader. Uh-oh, is an invasion coming? Trash Panda says, I brought one of my friends from Rumble. Yay, there you go. Thanks, Trash Panda. Appreciate you. Everybody follow his channel. What's the name of your channel? Well, you have Patriot Warrior, Texas. And hello, Rebecca. Thanks for being here. We're going to uncover the news today. Hit like, hit subscribe, share the show. All right, so Marco Rubio, he does every job in government. He sends a message directly to the people of Cuba. You talk about Cuba? I'm preemptively saying what Kenneth is already typing. So let's take a listen to Marco Rubio. DOJ has now indicted former Cuban president Raúl Castro.
En un día como hoy, en el 1902,
Oh, God, you're going to do this all in Cuban?
la bandera cubana ondeó por primera vez sobre un país independiente. Pero sé que hoy ustedes, quienes llaman a la isla su hogar, atraviesan en un día como
Do I really have to do this?
élite de Gaesa o que forman parte de ella pueden tener negocios rentables. Pero el presidente
This sort of feels like watching a Simpsons that's been dubbed in Spanish. You'll talk about Cuba? Okay, well, what's the gist of it?
Trump ofrece una nueva vía
President
Estados
Trump's offering a
Unidos,
new path between the U.S. and a new Cuba.
una nueva Cuba donde ustedes, los cubanos de a
Were
pie,
you the
no
ordinary
solo
Cuban?
Gaesa, pueda ser dueño de una gasolinera o de una tienda de ropa o de un restaurante.
You can own stores,
Una nueva Cuba donde
businesses,
ustedes,
not
no
just
solo Gaesa,
preferred elite.
pueden abrir un banco o tener una
Open a bank,
constructora.
have a construction company.
nueva
Open a
Cuba.
bank. Normal people are just out there opening banks. All right. Good. Here we go. In a nutshell, people of Cuba, the reason you don't have food, water, and electricity is because those who control you have plundered millions of your dollars. Gaesa, Gaesa, controls you, and you are slaves. The Trump administration is offering you a new path and wants you to live in a free and sovereign country. Castro indicted. Okay. Expected to announce May 20th criminal charges against 94-year-old former Cuban president Raúl Castro, tied to his alleged role as Cuba's defense minister, according to Benetta Elliott, in ordering the 1996 shootdown of 2 unarmed brothers to rescue civilian planes in international airspace, killing 4 people, 3 of which were U.S. citizens. Oh. Defense minister, 96, shot down 2 unarmed brothers to the rescue civilian planes. Largely symbolic, no realistic chance of trial or extradition, but it does escalate U.S. pressure on Cuba under the Trump admin. Huh. Okay. Megyn Kelly's skeptical about this new push to encourage us to accept some sort of conflict with Cuba. You talk about Cuba?
Let's not pretend that Cuba's about to attack us. Okay, like this is an insult to our intelligence. Okay? They literally cannot keep the lights on down there as they're dealing with extreme fuel shortages because America has cut off the oil shipments.
Yeah, by the way, I did wonder if that was him talking or if it was AI. How are we ever going to know now? How are we ever going to know? I mean, Marco is bilingual, at least.
That Cuba relies upon from Venezuela. All right, the fall of Venezuela or its leadership was the death knell to Cuba. When we swooped down and we got Nicolas Maduro in a daring military operation back in January, that was kind of the end of Cuba, which had been hanging by a thread. And now they have no oil. And so they have no power. They have no way of turning on their lights. for some 23 out of the 24 hours of the day. So there is, Cuba's not contemplating an attack on America. Stop. Don't insult our intelligence. Be honest. Tell us what we're fucking doing. That's just whatever. Okay, so are we?
All right. Megyn Kelly, you do understand the military is not going to tell you exactly what it's doing. You don't give away that kind of intelligence to media. You engage in the operation. I mean, she knows that.
Are we planning an attack on them? We don't know.
Might be.
We're not sure. Even Axios had the, thank God, like the sense of self-preservation enough to describe its own reporting as a possible, quote, pretext to U.S. military action. Thank you. Thank you for that, Axios. It's like, here's a bunch of spoon-fed bullshit we've been given. I'm going to put in one line about what we actually think is going on here. They're using this as a pretext to U.S. military action so that they can then turn around and be like, we said it was protectual, right? You gave your audience
protectual?
Absolutely no context for all the bullshit you just heaped upon them. You just wanted the exclusive. You want to be patted on the head by whatever administration official is giving you these exclusives. You want clicks, and therefore you refuse to actually offer context for your audience so they are to know what's real.
All right. Well, all eyes on Cuba now. Increasing mentions of a potential military conflict. CIA Director John Ratcliffe met with senior Cuban officials last Thursday, and we have the details here at National Chronicle. Okay. In the comments, Marion, if you ever catch me speaking so fluently in another language, it's certainly AI. Yeah, I mean, that Marco Rubio clip it was giving off AI vibes. Dina saying in Cuba, the oil ran out last night. I mean, my understanding is that now in Iran, they're dumping the oil into the water because you have to keep it. Something like you have to keep the oil derricks flowing or else you cause irreparable harm to the machine. So now it's just dumping directly into the water. They'd rather poison their people than surrender. Something like that. Got to dig into that a little bit more. But Cuba is front and center. Southern Command releases a video in which a countdown can be heard, and at the end, Cuba is seen. Additionally, we're hours away from Trump admin announcing an indictment against Raul Castro, the Cuban dictator. It reminds us of Maduro. Take a look. What's the Southern Command? It's from a U.S. Southern Command. Here we go.
Roger, I copy. All switches safe. Controllers grounded. Moving to line.
We need to bring down that music quite a bit. Like a lot. We don't get a copyright claim. It's showing people getting to work. This is going to be an active term. Is this stuff overdue? Is this New World Order style? We should be worried about this. Is it expansionism? Oh, okay. And then right there it goes dark, and then it scrolls in on the islands and then Cuba. Very So there's Southern Command. Can you identify the island? And Venezuela, of course, is here. Yeah, the U.S. is definitely getting involved in its hemisphere. All right. Well, that's all happening. Didn't have that in my stack, but that appears to be occurring now. Representative Nancy Mace put this out. Ilhan Omar, Shri Thanadar, Pramila Jayapal, all born in foreign countries. None were citizens by birth, all sitting in the United States Congress, all making very clear every day their loyalty is not to America. We just introduced, says Nancy Mace, a long overdue joint resolution proposing a constitutional amendment to require members of Congress, federal judges, and thank you, and Senate confirmed officers to be natural born citizens. This is the very same standard the president and vice president are already required to meet. The people writing America's laws, confirming America's judges, and representing America on the world stage should have one loyalty: America, not any other country. For too long, we've allowed foreign-born members to hold seats in this government while making clear that they're America last, not America first. We see it every day. This constitutional amendment will put an end to it. Do you agree or disagree with Nancy Mace? I'm going to agree. I've been agreeing very loudly for a while. Hit the thumbs up button, hit like, hit subscribe, share the show with a friend. Remember, Rumble Rant tips, Super Chat tips. All right, so we didn't cover this story from over the weekend. It was yet another shooting. Brandon Tatum releases this, saying that on May 18, there was a live stream of the shooting at an Islamic center in San Diego. And it's widely confirmed by major outlets. Listed right up here. No volume. And these two allegedly took their own lives afterward. And of course, you can't just do something. You have to paint all over your weapon, apparently. Your manifesto that you leave behind is scrawlings on your weapon. They don't really seem to know what they're doing. Unfortunately, they took a few lives. And of course, enter the blame game. Who do you blame? You have to wonder, are they part of Trantifa? Still gathering info. And by the way, this commenter says, California and Claremont resident here. We have the strictest gun laws, ammo bans, ammo background checks, 10-round capacity limit, age of 21 to purchase, 10-day waiting period, no federal background checks, need concealed permit to carry, FSC firearm safety certificate to purchase limits 3 and 30 days, handgun approved roster, registration, secure storage laws, secure transportation laws. In short, these didn't do a thing to prevent this tragedy. The armed security guard delayed the gunman, preventing the children from being hurt. Good guys with guns saved the day from a bigger bloodbath, as it always will be. All right, Scott Jennings talking about what's going on in Kentucky. Scott Jennings from Kentucky, I believe.
What's the old song? You don't tug on Superman's cape, you don't spit into the wind, you don't pull the mask off the old Lone Ranger, and you don't mess around with Trump in a Republican primary. And that's what Thomas Massie has done by becoming his chief antagonist in the U.S. House. And this became really a referendum on, is Thomas Massie on the team or not? And Trump said he wasn't. The voters followed. The key vote that House leadership turned on him over was the big, beautiful bill. I mean, the working
House
families
leadership, but
tax
the president.
Credit. Well, but that's the president's domestic policy agenda. And you cannot become an apostate on two issues in a Republican primary, taxes and immigration.
And Massie said, you're spending too much. And I said, well, was there some sort of pragmatic way? Say, I don't want to do this. I don't support this. This is too much spending. You guys all want to do this. Will you take 10% off of the entirety of this budget, rewrite it, and get my very reluctant approval, just so we can get the programs that we need into place. I can say I voted against it the first time. I forced them to cut it back 10%. I didn't like it. I didn't like it then. I don't like it now. The budget I wanted was one half of that. I don't know that that happened. It just drove a wedge between Massie and the party. Marion agrees with Nancy Mace. You must be American born. Kenneth, agree. Dina agrees. David, a Canadian, agrees. What's up, David? Dina, is it true they were trans? Don't know. There have been people, including Nick Sorter and the Amuse account, reporting that. I believe when pressed, Amuse said, in response to the question of what is your source, he said, me. And you go, well, that's not a source. Is that you saying, like, I have a source and I'm telling you that that's what it is? Don't know. 72-hour rule. You got to let everything, all the facts shake out for a couple of days. I don't know. I couldn't purport to know that one way or another. But it's almost the standard first question now. And that's a very interesting development. Oh, Dina, you're saying that was a 2-day spree? Yeah, I guess I did. I just didn't follow the story that much over the weekend. Marion with some good info here. Gun laws are only for the law abiding. Criminals don't really care. Come on, people. So Massie wouldn't approve the budget. Scott Jennings saying you're on the wrong side of two primary issues, taxes and immigration.
Massie voted against Trump's immigration security. He voted against Trump's tax cuts. So when you become a chief antagonist, when you're voting with the squad against Donald Trump's domestic policy.
And that's, I've been having this conversation. No, see, he's so far libertarian. He's the most conservative. He's the only real MAGA person. Okay, but he's not the president and he's not in charge. He's on the team. Except I think he's crossed over into the other team because all you're doing is voting against him. You've become a member of the opposition left. Well, no, he's so far right. He's like the most rightist. It's the clock. 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock. How are you watching? I got to do... Which way am I going? Anyway, as I'm looking at it, you have the right and the left. 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock. When you're already very far right and you keep going right, you end up on the left. You're at 7 o'clock, 6:30, 8 o'clock. Thomas Massie kept voting with the Democrats. You're voting with the squad. You become a member of the squad. Yeah, but you can't like have blind party allegiance. You can't just vote for party. You can't just vote for the king, whatever the king wants. You don't want a bunch of yes men. We do want the budgets passed. And we do need to give this president a war chest to fix and push back on. I mean, how much... They said none of the water fountains in Washington, D.C. were working. Like these big statues with water. They were all broken, and now they're all working again. The reflection pool was just a grimy garbage heap. Now it's getting cleaned up. All you got to do is give half a shit. No, you don't have a king. You don't need blind party allegiance. But you do need to give your representative the tools that he needs to fix decades of mismanagement, corruption, and treason. I can respect people that say that budget's too big and I'm not a fan of it. Well, then push back and go, I hate this. I hate this, everything about it. It should be half. Will you take 10% off the top of all of this for my vote? Can I at least claim that I dragged you guys from 1.1 trillion to 1 trillion? I did 1/10. I did what I could to drag this back to where I want it. One person dragged you that far back. but there's a massive lack of pragmatism amongst libertarians. Always have, always will. The primary ideologues that they are, they won't bend. Either do exactly as I want, or else I'm going to be opposing you, like a Democrat, like a squad member. Thomas practiced messy politics.
The agenda. It's not Epstein.
But that's
it's
because
a
he
problem.
was
When you're voting with the Democrats that often, look, politics is a team sport.
You will know the person by their votes. And he'd just become an obstructionist for President Trump, constantly out there insinuating, hinting, saying directly. All various versions of the way that Epstein is a problem for President Trump. He turned into a political adversary and he got taken out.
He's just not been on the president's team.
How much
That's
of
a
a
problem.
chill get for the party?
Voters have some agency here, okay?
Okay.
These people who live in Kentucky's 4th Congressional District strongly support Donald Trump. It's one of the most conservative districts in the country. They
35%,
overwhelmingly
yeah.
vote for him. And if they perceive that their Republican congressman, who they also voted for, is voting with the Democrats against the agenda of the president that they overwhelmingly supported, they take notice of it. That's what happens. What's the...
Yeah. This concept that, oh, he bought the seat. He bought the seat? That's not true. Trump beat Hillary. There's a quadrillion times more ad spending in that. That's not the excuse. Oh, well, it was money. It was money. It wasn't money. It was the past 18 months of watching, 16 months of watching Thomas Massie oppose almost everything important that President Trump was supporting. No, it was only 1 in 4 times. Oh, you mean like on the big important stuff? He was an active roadblock for President Trump trying to advance the agenda and get things cleaned up and fixed, push back on the deep state treason. Hello, BB. What's up, BB? Is that BB Netanyahu? Is that where that comes from? BB? Says FAPAC, American Israeli Political Action Committee, bragging they stole the election and confident the American people won't do anything about it. Revolt against the tyrannical system. Yeah, I just, money makes a difference. I was bombarded with political ads every time I'd click open Rumble. Goofy ads. Didn't make me vote differently. And if Donald Trump can win the presidency twice, 3 times, soon to be 4. If President Trump can win despite the massive amounts of overspending to upend President Trump, I don't know how big a role that the money plays. I don't. Because I've watched it flip upside down a couple times. I don't think just spending money will get you elected. So I think it's and I heard Thomas Massie say something along those lines, that the seat was purchased, or maybe it was somebody defending Massie. Let me just go through the stack. I've been consuming all these stories and some of them are blurring together in my head. We'll get more on Massie in just a moment, and we'll get to Barney Frank passing away. But let's just give you this story, just a story of humanity. Mario Knopfel put this out. A pregnant, homeless, drug-addicted woman walks up to a police officer and said, I'm done. I need help. He immediately let her in his patrol car, bought her cheeseburgers, made it a full meal, treated her with total dignity, and personally drove her to a treatment center. In a world full of negative cop stories, this is the kind of quiet humanity we need more of. One officer saw a broken person asking for help and actually showed up like a human being. Respect. Small acts like this can literally save lives.
Hey, what's going on?
I'm pregnant, I'm homeless, and I'm a drug addict, and I'm done.
Okay. So you're trying to get treatment?
Yeah.
Too much music.
Which location do you have to go to?
The one on G. Gibbs and I Street.
Okay. Throw your stuff in the back of my car. Just put it right here.
Maybe it's just me picking up on this. But I've noticed this is like the second or third or fourth time now. I've noticed this. There's like an exasperated sigh. He's like, okay, put your stuff in. He's kind of annoyed that he has to do it. Like it's messed up his whole routine. It's like, all right, I'm gonna drive here. I'm gonna sit at this. If anything happens, and I'm gonna go get a coffee at this time. He's like, all right, put your stuff back here. And they're doing the right thing. They're doing something that's admirable. But I appreciate the realism of the. Because almost every time I'm asked to do something, I've already in the middle of something else I'm currently doing. I'm like, okay, let's do the thing. Anyway, maybe maybe that was just me picking up on that.
You have anything in your pockets or anything?
Just a phone.
Officer felt sorry for the woman who obviously was having a tough time.
Burger on the way? Are you in a huge?
You want to get a burger?
You want to take an extra 10 minutes?
I don't mind taking an extra 10 minutes. I'm always hungry.
All right.
I'm always hungry. Yeah, you're eating for two.
What would you like at White Castle?
A cup of tea cider.
Okay. Anything else? You want to make it a meal?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Would you like to sit down and have your food, or you want to come out?
What do you mean?
Yeah, if you want to come out and stand up and eat, or if you want to sit down. I don't know if you've been here outside your yard. Here, we'll get up on the hood of the car.
Still thanks.
That's not too much music, guys. Jeez.
Wait for the about.
No, it's funny. When I was a kid.
Yeah, I gotta bail. Too much music, but that's just very nice. I get so tired of the constant demonization of cops and police and law enforcement. Yeah, you know what? I don't want to have to tackle every crazy junkie. We sort of outsource that to people, and they should be wearing body cameras and they should be accountable, Like they see stuff like this on a daily, whether it's how many videos have I played for you? Someone ready to jump off a building or a bridge, and they're over there intervening and bringing them back. There's a lot of people that reach the edge. Yeah, a little bit of humanity.
Trash over there. I'm gonna get rid of this one. I think. All right. Let's get you down there so I don't get in trouble for taking too long.
Yeah.
Okay. He's like, man, I'm not going to hit my quota harassing these soccer moms for going 7 miles over the speed limit. I'm going to take grief at the station. And nobody likes those kind of cops. Granted.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So glad.
Hey, this young lady is very pregnant and
very pregnant. All right, you get it. Way too much music. But bravo. Yeah, set this woman free from her addictions. Give me liberty, says, God bless this woman, set her free from her addiction, save, heal, and deliver her. Watch over her and protect her unborn baby. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. So look, that was good. Not all the news is bad. Start off with a mosque shooter, and then you get to this one, and, it's going to be a grab bag of news every day. All right, Patriot Warrior in Rumble. Oh, Rebecca says, I agree with Nancy Mace. Yes, Rebecca's comments are over here with Texas Mornings Unplugged. Hold on. There are 30 members of Congress born in other countries. This is so wrong. So wrong. Rebecca's saying Megyn Kelly needs to ease up on the Ozempic. She has said that she is vaccine injured for the past couple of years. And so her appearance has suffered, and she's going through some physical issues, according to her, vaccine injured. It might be that. Patriot War, you've referenced pine cone. Is there a pine cone reference that I just didn't catch? Trump told Massie, take this pine cone and shove it. All right. Is there a pine cone reference with Massie that I need to know? Oh, absolutely, Dina. He saved the baby, too. Good cops, good cops. Exactly. Way to go, officer. Jesus saw that. Or Jesus was that. Tonight, Thomas Massie marks the 6-month anniversary of the Epstein Files Transparency Act, which he co-sponsored with Representative Ro Khanna, Democrat from California. Yep, when you're buddying up with Ro Khanna. The bipartisan bill passed by the House 427-1 and Senate unanimously. Signed into law by President Trump on November 19, 2025, it required the Department of Justice to release the unclassified records related to Jeffrey Epstein's investigations. This alleged quote, purported to be true by Daily Caller, says today is the 6-month anniversary of the Epstein Transparency Act. We've taken out 24 CEOs, an ambassador, a prince, a prime minister, a minister of culture. That was just 6 months. I've got 7 months left in Congress. I'm not unhappy with Thomas Massie pushing for that. I'm not unhappy over that. What I am unhappy about is the ticks. Springfield, Illinois, along the Sangamon River. Public land, if anyone is wondering. Worst I've ever seen, and we were sprayed down. Ticks. Tick season.
Me and Chelsea just got done in this spot, and it's on the river, so I was like, we gotta wrap our ankles. Look at that. That's insane. I was here yesterday, pulled 17 ticks off me, and you could see them literally in the parking lot. Everywhere. I mean, they're... Let me see if I can find more. I literally am taping up my ankles, and I noticed, look, I already got one on my tape, dude. This is insane. Look, another one. They're just in the parking lot everywhere. Me and Chelsea.
So what will take them out? Yeah, I need to get rosemary, marigold, lavender growing, lemongrass, catnip. I have some of these and I need to transfer some more. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a little bit of that today. Let's ask Grok. What predator kills ticks? Ladybugs? Ants? Actively hunt and eat ticks, especially in soil or leaf litter. Amphibians and reptiles? Lizards? Birds? Chickens, guinea fowl, wild turkeys, quails, robins, others? Okay. Opossum controversy, praised as tick-eating heroes that supposedly kill 5,000 ticks per season by grooming. Or no evidence of ticks in their diets. Opossums appear to groom ticks off but rarely eat them. Okay. Shrews, rodents, raccoons, squirrels, and bats may eat them occasionally. But many rodents, like mice, are actually key hosts that help spread ticks and tick-borne disease. Larger predators, foxes, coyotes, snakes, raptors, help indirectly by controlling rodent population. Clear leaf litter and tall grass, tick checks after being outdoors, approved repellents and treatments. We got to attack the ticks. TikTok's revenge it is. Yes, the curse of Montezuma. TikTok revenge. And so many people just saying it's Bill Gates.
Chelsea just got done. And
got to go on the offensive. Here's more.
I am an avid camper hiker.
Nearly 2 years ago, Holly Raycroft removed a tick from her body. That evening, she enjoyed a pot roast dinner. Hours later, the Hampton Bays woman woke up in the middle of the night.
I was not feeling so good. stomach, head, the whole 9 yards, and I was having difficulty breathing.
Doctors diagnosed Raycroft with alpha-gal syndrome, an allergy to red meat you can get after being bitten by a Lone Star tick.
Living in Suffolk County, we've got more alpha-gal cases per capita than anywhere else in the country.
Dr. Erin McGinty says now that we're in tick season, she expects to see patients every day. She says reactions from alpha-gal syndrome range from mild to deadly.
Hands and feet are a little itchy, or my stomach is a little crampy, to, hives all over the body, to, in the most severe cases, anaphylactic shock.
Experts say if you live in an area with a lot of deer, you're at risk for getting a tick bite. Now, ticks are prevalent on the East End, but also further west on Long Island.
I am an avid camper hiker.
Nearly 2 years.
Just gotta be careful. We gotta fight back. Man, what a bummer. Lauren Lee says we never would have read the Epstein files without Thomas Massie, the one man who dared to take on the pedo elite. They took him down instead of the thousands of rich men who harmed children. Really sit with that. This is America now. Thomas Massie lost his primary. I wonder if he could run as a Democrat or a independent. Joe Kent, who resigned and bashed President Trump, says, God bless Thomas Massie. He walks out of this with his honor intact. He's a patriot and he kept his integrity. As long as the voters give their votes to whoever can run the most ads, we will have politicians who are purchased by foreign governments and corporate interests. I push back on that. I don't concede that that's a factual claim. It's an interpretation. That's your take. Doesn't make it true. President Trump got elected without having more money behind him. And good afternoon, Ortho. Welcome back. So yeah, AIPAC and Thomas Massie being one of the few to not take AIPAC money. Seems strange that he was targeted so specifically and directly. But I also understand. Oh, great. We're all out here talking about ticks. All Day Astronomy says mosquitoes have now reached Iceland, the last place on Earth that remained free from them. I don't know how true that is. The response is there's only one person with a mosquito farm. All right, this I Have No Memes account says, why the F does bro need a mosquito farm? Mosquitoes being found in Iceland is a major ecological headline because the country was long considered one of the last mosquito-free places on Earth. October 25, 3 mosquitoes confirmed in Iceland, identified as a cold-tolerant species found across parts of Europe. Scientists have not said this means Iceland now has a large mosquito population, but the discovery is still significant because Iceland's climate had historically made it difficult for mosquitoes to survive and reproduce. The bigger story is climate and movement, warmer conditions, shipping, That's another way to spread stuff. So we need to be on the attack against mosquitoes as well. Amy Reichert here talking about the San Diego Police Department Northern Division. That's where the Islamic Center shooting happened. She claims that they were 7 officers understaffed for morning watch. The mother of one of the shooters called the PD at 9 a.m. to report her son stole her car and the father's guns and left a note about shooting up a place. The call held for 2 hours before an officer went to handle it. The active shooter came out while the unit was speaking with the mom. The whole thing could have been stopped if we had adequate staffing. The city of San Diego has failed us by supporting the defund the police movement and not having a balanced budget. That's her claim. Not sure if true, but it sort of tracks, except for, isn't the city of San Diego pretty Republican because of the naval base there? More about ticks. It's a pet issue of mine because I love the outdoors so much.
Have you noticed lately that the media is losing their mind about tick bites and alpha-gal? So I'm working on a video about this right now that's going to be on my health and nutrition channel, not the farm channel, but I'll probably link to it on the farm channel, because as you can see, I'm out in these pastures and in these woods every single day, very often for hours at a time. I do use a bug spray on my socks and shoes, but I get ticks off of me every single day. At least one tick a day. When I get back to the house and take a shower, there's like, oh, there's a tick. Although I'm a carnivore, I'm a meat eater, I'm not afraid of alpha-gal. Have you noticed lately that
I'm new to this tick thing. I used to live outdoors. Spent so much time in the woods growing up. Always had a backyard to wander around in. Something great about just having a piece of land like that. Just a little acre on a busy street, but you got woods and you can make paths and trails. And how fun is that? Help me go to war with ticks and mosquitoes, guys, every day. Let's come up with new ideas. Tell me what's working. Tell me what's not working. DHS Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen has confirmed this is not working. 50% of all murders in Fairfax County, Virginia, have been committed by illegal alien invaders. I'd say that's not working, our immigration system. When half of the murders in your county, Fairfax County, Virginia, they're illegal alien invaders. An invading army is coming and killing your residents. But that's not all of them. They're not all doing that. Go. Home. Go. Away. Invaders. Come back in the front door. Come back in the front door. David hates ticks. But does David hate Miss Quitos? Have you met Miss Quitos? Ah, bien, gracias. ¿Y tú? David, I was outside always, and there was never this tick shit back in the day. Yep. Plum Island. It's an ecological attack. Awesome. Adam says flock cameras don't just grab your license plate, by the way. Did you know that? They log dents and stickers and damage and decals on your car. The likeness of the driver, the clothing and the facial details, the direction, the speed, the duration of the time that you're on the road, accompanying passenger count. These cameras are Orwellian and unconstitutional. Flock cameras. Daily Caller put this out. Reportedly, in a concession speech, Thomas Massie says, why am I hopeful right now? We have the younger demographic. You are patriots and will inherit the country. You will make it better, and I'm hopeful because of it. We started out as an election, and it turned into a movement. There's a yearning in this country for somebody who votes for principles of her party or over party? Over party. They spelled that wrong there. It says over party here, and that makes more sense. Thomas Massie did get the young demographic. The boomer demographic went to who Trump told him to. Ed Gallarain. The dude put this out and says, government, we care so much about climate change. However, let's have data centers double our energy usage and use up all the water. Okay, that's super helpful. Oh, Massie supposedly called his dong a pine cone? A pine cone? A pine cone? In what context? I mean, I understand like the eggplant emoji or like the cucumber or the hot dog or like there's a lot of food analogies or symbolism, but a pine cone? I guess you could close your eyes and see 100 different types of pine cone. There's like only one banana, one hot dog, like a pine cone. All right, hold on, because you've been saying it. I gotta get this. I gotta figure this out. Pine cone Massie. Thomas Massie is Nikki Haley with a smaller pine cone. Thomas Massie emerges as a 28 presidential contender despite losing the congressional seat. So, okay, so someone released this text message. All right, what is this? LOL. Love you, Thomas. I love you. Pine cone set the machine off again. No way. I got the full groin pat down. Oh, pine cone. Why is this so interesting to me? There's just so many different versions. Show images of pine cones. Pine cone? Yeah, there's a yeah, maybe that one. But some of these are pretty odd shaped. Well, this is a rabbit hole I did not anticipate going down today. Thanks for that. All right. I would come out sooner. Come on, don't cut the beginning of this off. But I would have come out sooner, but I had to call my opponent and concede, and it took a while to find Ed Galrine in Tel Aviv. Who is this lady next to him? Yep. Took a while to find him in Tel Aviv. Ed Galrine is a Zionist puppet, a Jew puppet, he says, Thomas Massie. Ha, 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 ha. Matt Morse, though, says, hold on, just for the record, Thomas Massie's single largest campaign financer is an American Jewish billionaire named Jeff Yass, who's a key figure in the far-right Israeli think tank called the Kolet Policy Forum, which actively pushes for the Greater Israel Project. Is that true? Pine cone? All right, I'm asking Grok if this Instagram link is true. Can Grok figure it out? Agree or disagree? Grok will be able to give me an answer. Agree. Grok will give me an answer, a good answer. Tell me in the comments. No, the post is misleading and cherry-picked. It appears to highlight a $1 million donation from a billionaire-linked PAC to support Massie or related efforts, framing it as evidence of an external influence, likely in the context of pro-Israel AIPAC lobbying against him. $1 million is described as a relatively small amount, drop in the bucket compared to the $20 million in foreign or opposing spending reported against Massie in recent cycles. Misleading because it ignores the much larger scale of money spent to unseat him. Fitting a pattern of political attack posts that spotlight one funding stream while downplaying the bigger financial picture in a high-profile primary challenge. Sum this up in a sentence I can post on IG. That's more than a... Yeah, I'm over it.
I did get the call through, though. I have called and conceded the race. We've been honorable the whole time, and we're going to stay that way. I would have come out sooner, but I had to call my opponent and concede, and it took a while to find Ed Galrine in Tel Aviv.
Mostly peaceful memes. Massie lost. Time to vote for Democrats and burn the country down. If you feel that way, you're not really a libertarian, you're a leftist. Maybe you always have been in sheep's clothing. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that. And by the way, Nick Fuentes said he's a Democrat and he's going to be voting Democrat. That's his plan. So, you know, some of the loudest Jew haters that are like, "Oh, you're so far on the right. You're like Hitler, aren't you?" Okay. Hitler was a socialist. He was on the left. Stop that. Number one. Number two, so many of those people end up being Democrat. Name me the very vocal Jew haters that are Republican. And once again, don't make me choose a team. I root for the Red Sox, root for the Yankees. No! I'm a Cleveland Indians fan. They stole my team and they call them the Guardians now, but that's the team I root for. Not rooting for the Red Sox or the Yankees. Thank you very much. Anyway, Massie lost. Time to vote for Dems and burn the country down. Thomas Massie, facing Trump's opposition, gets a hand from a billionaire mega donor. Oh, yeah, Jeff Yass. All right, well, it's true and untrue. A little bit of both. All right, let's pivot over to our X account. Make sure you hit like, hit subscribe, share the show with a friend. Remember, you can drop a tip in my tip jar back here. You can throw some silver coins in. It's at Rumble Rant Tips, Super Chat Tips. They make a clinking noise when they land. As well as signing up to become a subscriber on Patreon, YouTube, and Rumble as well. For like $5 or $10 a month, you can sign up. And our Patreon is linked right here at the top of our X feed. That's me waving. Hello, Mark. Thanks for joining us today. Okay, yeah, we shared with you Representative Nancy Mace saying we've introduced long overdue joint resolutions proposing constitutional amendments requiring Congress, federal judges, Senate confirmed officers to be natural born citizens. Yes, 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 and yes. Okay, we told you about CIA Director John Ratcliffe meeting with senior Cuban officials last Thursday. People of Cuba, the reason you don't have food, water, and electricity, because those who control you have plundered billions of your dollars. Gesa controls you. You are slaves. Trump admin offering you a new path and wants you to live in a free and sovereign country. Kenneth jumping in off the top of the ropes with a $5 super chat. Super fat ticks. Yeah, there'll be a sign. No fat ticks allowed. No fat ticks. Mark jumps in to give us a Bible verse and then says, oops, gotta go. We hardly knew ye, Mark. Thanks for coming in and saying, oops, I've gotta go. Good stuff. All right. Andrew Colvett put this out. Pete Davidson made a Charlie Kirk joke, I believe, at the roast of, was it Kevin Hart, maybe? And our new press secretary, J.D. Vance, had some thoughts.
Pete Davidson, he made a horrific, obscene joke about the murder of your friend Charlie Kirk. What does this still say about where our political divisions have gone, and what are you specifically doing to bridge the divide, especially as a potential future president?
Well, sorry, who was it that said something?
Davidson made a really obscene joke about Charlie Kirk. So what are you doing as a potential future candidate or president to bridge the divide?
Well, first of all, I'm not a potential future candidate. I'm a vice president, and I really like my job, and I'm going to try to do as good of a job as I can. But let me just say this. So you talked about Pete Davidson, who said something bad about Charlie Kirk. Look, Charlie was a very, very dear friend, but more importantly than that, Charlie was a father of two beautiful kids, and he did not deserve to have all of those moments with his kids, all of those moments with his beautiful wife taken from him in the way that happened. I would expect everybody with a heart or a conscience would say whatever we agreed or disagreed with about his particular viewpoints, this is a tragedy, and it's totally unacceptable that it happens in the United States of America. To their credit, a lot of the reporters in this room, even though I don't agree with their politics, they were open about the fact that what happened to Charlie was disgusting and it shouldn't happen in a civilized country. You talk about bridging the divide. I mean, one thing that happened, it hits, not quite literally close to home, but there was a very terrible shooting that happened today at a Muslim community center. It seems like 3 people are dead, plus the shooters. And, that community center is actually very close to this restaurant that Usha and I go to every time we visit. Her family lives in San Diego. She was born and raised in San Diego. Every time we go to San Diego, we go to this restaurant that is like maybe a 5-minute drive from this community center. And I found out about it actually on my way to the White House this morning, and I texted her. I said, would you have known anybody who was like involved in this? And she said, absolutely, I would have known some people, or at least their parents, who might have actually used the services at this community center. I don't know a single person who would say anything other than what I'm about to say, which is that type of violence in the United States of America is reprehensible, and I encourage every single American to pray for everybody who was involved and affected by it. We don't want that to happen in our country, and may God rest the souls of the people who lost their lives. What I do find a little distressing is that while every person I know, every politically conservative person I know would say exactly what I said about these innocent people who were killed, there were a lot of people who were celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. And I think one way that we can bridge the divide is just have a very simple principle in this country. Number one, we don't want the government throwing people in prison because they have bad politics, however you define bad politics. Number two, and way more importantly, political violence, wherever it comes from, is unacceptable in the United States of America. Let's talk with one another, not shoot each other when we disagree. I think that's the principle that everybody in this room agrees with. It's certainly the principle the President of the United States agrees with.
Press Secretary J.D. Vance.
Davidson,
Vice President J.D. Vance. All right, Sean Davis has opinion on why Thomas Massie lost tonight. And Pete Davidson's dad famously was taken out in the September 11th terror attacks in the building, I believe. And roast jokes are consistently and expectedly half the point of a roast is trying to be the most offensive possible. It's what made Norm Macdonald so great. He's like calling people rapscallions, and don't worry, Gilbert Gottfried's on the panel. what did he say? Something like, Gilbert asked where the restrooms were, and I said, right down the hall there on the right, it says gentlemen, but you pay no mind, no heed. You too can use that. Because he's not a gentleman. He's a scoundrel. It was like Norm trying to be offensive in like 1921 vernacular. And it was so nice. It was like Canadian mean. I said he could use the bathroom even though it said gentlemen. Pay no heed. Because the man's a scoundrel, not a gentleman. You see? All right. Sean Davis says, why did Thomas Massie lose tonight? Massie went from principled libertarian during COVID to GOP leadership lapdog under McCarthy to anti-Trump Epstein obsessive in 25 after tweeting about that issue a whopping 3 times in the decade prior. The nail in the coffin for him was voting against the One Big Beautiful Bill in 25 because, according to Massie, it did too much to secure the border. I'm sorry, that was his quote? Let me ask about that. Did Massie vote against One Big Beautiful Bill because it did too much for the border? Was that really a quote? If it was, I missed it. No. He said it would significantly increase federal deficits in the national debt, which he argued would fuel inflation and higher interest rates for all Americans. That's all true. And I support that. By the way, wait a minute. In the comments, Dina says, I think I was half asleep and I realized it's Mark Anderson only. What are you doing half asleep, Dina? Do I need to be louder? Do I need to clap? Should I be waving my arms? Should I be flailing? Gotta wake up, Dina. Massie acknowledged some conservative wins in the bill, which included border security funding and other priorities. His public statement after the vote, I voted no on final passage because it will significantly increase U.S. budget deficits in the near term. All right, so yeah, it's not accurate. It's the opposite of his stated reason. I'm going to reply with that. Sean Davis makes some good posts, but at Sean Vergok. Okay, so that wasn't accurate. I'm glad we sorted that out. So that was a lie. Trump mercilessly trashed Massie in 2020, calling him a disaster for America in Kentucky and saying he should be thrown out of the GOP entirely. But Massie easily swatted that away and won 81-19. So you can't say he only lost because of Trump. He went toe-to-toe with Trump on COVID in 2020 and won overwhelmingly. Massie lost because he went from being perceived as a quirky but lovable nerd who seemed to genuinely believe everything he said, to looking like a clout-chasing influencer who cared more about getting TV time with Democrats on an issue he clearly never cared about until 5 minutes ago than he did about representing his voters. We'll never know what caused the apparent personality change. Maybe it was the death of his wife, and it did coincide around, somewhat recently. Maybe it was the McCarthy race followed by McCarthy's ouster. Maybe it was a desire for notoriety or media acclaim and a lucrative podcasting career outside of Congress. But the drastic change was undeniable. He was as was the seeming lack of interest in much of anything happening in Kentucky. Blame Trump, blame Israel, blame Epstein, blame the tragic death of a spouse. I don't care. But you cannot just wave away 2020 Massie going face to face with the Trump machine and winning in a rout only to get smoked 6 years later. Massie's voters didn't really change all that much, but he did, and they noticed. It feels kind of accurate. Except for the part that was inaccurate when he claims that Massie said it did too much to secure the border, which was a lie. It was purely incorrect, if not intentional. Jeff Bezos calling out Ugandan Mayor Zoran Mamdani. Why are Ugandans running American cities? Shouldn't you be an American citizen to run an American city? I think absolutely. How can you be on a board of directors for a homeowners association unless you're a homeowner? No, he owns a home. No, but he's from another HOA. He's from another country. Anyway. When did Mamdani become a U.S. citizen? Was he born here? You should be native born, not a transplant. I think that's very fair. That's not a lot to ask. Born in Kampala, Uganda in 91. Indian parents. New York City when he was 7 years old, around 1998. Naturalized citizen at the age of 27 and holds dual U.S. Ugandan citizenship. 2018, 8 years ago. And he's a dual citizen. And we said no dual citizens should be serving. You serve one master. Mom, Donnie won't play nice. Are you talking about Trump? Or a different Donnie? All together. Here's Jeff Bezos calling out Mom Donnie the commie.
I don't pay taxes. So true. I pay billions of dollars in taxes. And it's a perfect, again, if people want me to pay more billions, right, then let's have that debate. But don't pretend, that's going to solve the problem. You could double the taxes I pay, and it's not going to help that teacher in Queens. I promise you. So you can't connect those two things, not logically. There are more examples. Why is rent expensive? Why is rent so expensive? I recently saw somebody blamed it on Airbnb. Okay, Airbnb is not the cause of expensive rent. In fact, it's been almost, let me finish here 1 sec. It's already been outlawed in New York City, and rents are still very high. So we know Airbnb isn't causing high rents. What's really causing high rent is government intervention.
Yeah. People want me to pay more billions. Let's have that debate, but don't pretend that that's going to solve the problem. You can't just tax people endlessly. The money will leave, and Mamdani is scamming New York City, says Eric Daughtry. So Barney Frank has passed away. Mario Knopfel says Barney Frank, the outspoken Massachusetts congressman who served more than 30 years, passed away yesterday at the age of... Okay, I've seen this reported 2 different ages, 86 and 88. Can't be both. Barney Frank championed a number of progressive causes, from abortion to LGBT issues, economic reforms. During the 2008 financial crisis, he partnered with Senator Chris Dodd to pass Dodd-Frank, which sought to reform financial institutions and protect consumers. Joe Rogan has mentioned several times on his podcast that he once attended a debate on gay rights between Barney Frank and an activist from Moral Majority. an organization that preached Christian values. Frank was a liberal stalwart and considered a leading figure in gay rights and Wall Street reform. Source, New York Post. And if he was Republican, they would have said disgraced. That's what they do. They just call you disgraced. Okay, now I'm seeing 86. I think I typed in the title 88. I think the first time I read it, maybe I glanced at it and saw 88. This commenter here says, because of Barney Frank, to make a cash deposit into your own bank account, you have to show an ID, even after inserting your ATM card. I don't know if that's exactly true, but they claim it is. Tony Segura has some thoughts on this. The Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act, championed by figures like Barney Frank, is frequently lauded by the political establishment as a safeguard against the financial instability that characterized the 2008 crisis. However, beneath the bureaucratic veneer of orderly liquidation and market discipline lies a reality that critics have long identified: the institutionalization of mechanisms that fundamentally shift risk away from the reckless financial class and onto the shoulders of the public. While proponents claimed Dodd-Frank effectively ended too big to fail by prohibiting taxpayer-funded bailouts, the reality is that it ushered in a transition to the bail-in model. Through Title II, the Orderly Liquidation Authority, the FDIC is granted sweeping powers to seize control of failing financial institutions. Provisional holds. Under regulatory frameworks like 12 CFR 360.9, large banks are required to have automated processes to implement provisional holds on deposit accounts. This essentially permits the regulator to freeze and potentially reallocate account balances immediately upon a bank's failure. Loss allocation. The language of protecting financial stability is often code for protecting the integrity of the broader financial system at the expense of the individual depositors. By treating deposits as liabilities, they can be liquidated or converted during an orderly wind down. The system ensures the operational continuity of the financial architecture is maintained, even if that means depositors bear the brunt of the institution's insolvency. The illusion of protection. The claim that Dodd-Frank prevents taxpayer bailouts ignores the fact that the Orderly Liquidation Fund, OLF, serves as a backstop. If the resolution process fails to cover its costs, the burden is shifted to the rest of the industry, which inevitably passes those costs along to consumers or ultimately falls back on the public through the systemic risk created by this opaque web of financial interdependencies. I don't know if I've ever read the word interdependencies before. The institutional capture. Barney Frank and his contemporaries designed the legislation in the aftermath of the revolving door era, in which the architects of financial policy are often the same individuals who facilitate the expansion of corporate power. Regulatory capture. The Dodd-Frank apparatus does not dismantle the power of the mega banks. It provides a survival guide for them. By centralizing authority within agencies like the FDIC and the Treasury, the law creates a too-big-to-fail architecture that is managed by state-sponsored administrators rather than market forces. Yeah, that was one of my biggest problems with the financial crash. I was yelling to anybody that could hear. I said, let these mortgages fail and let the free market purchase them up. Don't drag this out. Don't drag this out. Stop dragging this out. Just let the market purchase up the units. Nope. They extended and they made it so much worse. You had some industries that over-leveraged themselves, made bad investments, poor decisions, they fail, and someone's supposed to purchase them. That's how it works. But the way that they handled it, man, they made the misery so much worse and take so much longer than it needed to, in my estimation. Propaganda versus reality. Mainstream media narratives consistently frame Dodd-Frank as a success of consumer protection. They systematically ignore the precedent set by the legislation, which essentially codified the rights of the state to reach into the bank accounts of private citizens to stabilize a failing, hyper-leveraged system. That's crazy. The shift from bailouts to bail-in is not a correction of the system's flaws. It is the ultimate consolidation of risk. It ensures that when the next systemic collapse occurs, the solution is already legally codified to sacrifice the stability of individual wealth to preserve the shell of the institutions that caused the crisis in the first place. Pretty good post. Myron Gaines says the Thomas Massie loss is actually a win. It took the President of the United States a coordinated smear campaign and $30 million in record-breaking spending, much of it from pro-Israel groups, to barely defeat one sitting congressman critical of endless foreign aid and lobbying influence. Massie won younger voters handily, those under 55. The Fox News pro-Israel boomer coalition needed everything to hold the line. Their grip is slipping and the future belongs to us, he says. So if you're happy that Massie was taken out, you're aligned with Myron Gaines now. And a whole bunch of others. Casey Putch, he ran against Vivek Ramaswamy and lost every single county that he ran in. Says Thomas Massie losing says two things. Fox News boomers are fully programmable in facilitating the destruction of America. And Israel controls the USA through their grifting ecosystem. We will have no future until this burns to the ground. And yeah, Vivek defeated Casey in every Ohio county in the primaries. Casey Putch is a little bit like the others we've talked about. The Nick Fuentes. Well, I'm voting Democrat. Well, because maybe you are one. We're going to bail on MAGA. We're leaving the Republicans. Oh, you're voting Democrat. Okay. Cynical Publius says he quotes Massie saying, I would have come out sooner, but I had to call my opponent and concede, and it took a while to find Ed Galrain in Tel Aviv. I always knew Massie would engage in a petulant, childish, unprofessional, and vaguely anti-Semitic concession speech if he lost, and he did not disappoint. Scott Jennings with some harsh words.
Thomas Massie tonight in his concession speech said something despicable, anti-Semitic, nasty, gutter politics, right at the end. What a way to go out. He said...
Look at that smug look on her face. She can barely withhold her contempt.
Gutter politics, right at the end. What a way to go out. He said, I would have called Ed Galrain, but, I had to find him in Tel Aviv. There was an undercurrent of anti-Semitism in this race on the Massie side. There's been an undercurrent of it in his career, unfortunately, and it really came out in an ugly way tonight. And I think it needs to be stated, acknowledged, and condemned because it was pretty despicable.
Is it despicable? Is it unfair? I don't know. You tell me. Ed Galrain says, as I reflect on yesterday's victory, I want to begin by thanking President Donald J. Trump for his support, confidence, and unwavering commitment to fighting for our country and the America First movement. I'm deeply humbled and honored by the trust the people of Kentucky have placed in me. This victory belongs to the hardworking patriots across our Commonwealth who believe in faith, freedom, secure borders, strong families, and putting America first. To every voter, volunteer, supporter, and friend who stood with our campaign, thank you for your prayers, sacrifice, encouragement, belief in our mission. I'll never forget the support you showed my family throughout this journey. Over the course of my campaign, I had the privilege of meeting thousands of Kentuckians of every walks of life, veterans, farmers, first responders, small business owners, workers, parents, young people hopeful for the future of our nation. Your stories impacted me every day. The Navy SEAL teams taught me that no mission is accomplished alone. Success requires trust, teamwork, discipline, and people willing to fight side by side for something greater than themselves. I saw that same spirit throughout this campaign. From the farms and small towns of Kentucky to the incredible grassroots team that poured their hearts into this race. While yesterday was a victory worth celebrating, there's still much work to be done. The real mission begins now. I will fight every day to serve the people of Kentucky, support President Trump's agenda, strengthen our country, and never forget the trust you placed in me. Thank you again for this incredible honor. I am ready to get to work. May God bless each of you, the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and the United States of America. Don't really know much about this guy, this Ed Galbraith. Navy SEAL captain, 5 Bronze Stars, parachute badge, Trump endorsed, etc. But take a look. President Trump was 37-0. That's not too shabby. Ten 10-0 in Pennsylvania, 9-0 in Georgia, Alabama 6-0, Kentucky 6-0, Idaho 5-0, Oregon 1-0. Strong showing for America First priorities heading into the midterms. Perfect night. Multiple states, 37-0 in the May 19 primaries. President Trump speaking about Texas.
We have a great candidate, I believe, in Texas. And I believe the Texas candidate, who's Ken Paxton, I think he'll win. I think probably he'll win very substantially. And I think he'll go on to defeat a very defective candidate, a candidate that believes in 6 genders, and he takes hits at Jesus Christ, and he's wearing a mask 6 months ago. Whereas a guy, anybody wearing a mask 6 months ago doesn't get it. And he's a vegan. He's a vegan in Texas, and you can't get elected as a vegan in Texas.
Did you talk to Senate leadership?
And perhaps they said, sir, worst of all, he's a vegan. I said, wow. Paxton for the win. Tallarico's defective. All right, let's talk about the 1.4 million people who've been purged from taxpayer health care. Who are they?
So we've got
next 10 years.
So over $1 trillion comes out over the next 10 years. Report after report says 15 million people could lose their health insurance.
How is that a cut?
Okay, let's talk about
that. Is only a cut in Washington, D.C.
Have you met with any of the 1.4 million people who have lost their health insurance just this last year from dropping off of Obamacare? Have you sat down and talked to those folks about the fact they won't have their health insurance again?
They're almost all illegal immigrants.
Oh, well, you know what? It sounds like you haven't met with folks like Portia in my district.
We found 1.5 million illegal immigrants illegally collecting Medicaid.
Mr. Secretary, there are people like Portia in Buda, Texas, whose health insurance costs went from $100 a month to $500 a month. People like my constituent Shauna in San Marcos, Texas.
Well, if they're almost all illegal immigrants, illegally collecting Medicaid, looting us, plundering us, draining our resources. Katie Miller says, I feel sad for the people who will miss out on having children because of the anti-family propaganda pushed by the left. Humanity will collapse without increasing birth rates. Elon agrees indeed. Marco Rubio talking about the people sneaking into America.
We revoked her visa. It's an F1 visa, I believe. We revoked it, and here's why. And I'll say it again. I said it everywhere. Let me be abundantly clear, okay? If you go apply for a visa right now, anywhere in the world, Let me just send this message out. If you apply for a visa to enter the United States and be a student, and you tell us that the reason why you're coming to the United States is not just because you want to write op-eds, but because you want to participate in movements that are involved in doing things like vandalizing universities, harassing students, taking over buildings, creating a ruckus, we're not going to give you a visa. If you lie to us and get a visa and then enter the United States and with that visa participate in that sort of activity, we're going to take away your visa. And once you've lost your visa, you're no longer legally in the United States, and we have a right, like every country in the world has a right, to remove you from our country. So it's just that simple. I think it's crazy. I think it's stupid for any country in the world to welcome people into their country that are going to go to your universities as visitors. They're visitors. And say, I'm going to your universities to start a riot. I'm going to your universities to take over a library and harass people. I don't care what movement you're involved in. Why would any country in the world allow people to come and disrupt? Now, we gave you a visa to come and study and get a degree, not to become a social activist that tears up our university campuses. And if we've given you a visa and then you decide to do that, we're going to take it away. I encourage every country to do that, by the way, because I think it's crazy to invite students into your country that are coming onto your campus and destabilizing it. We're just not going to have it. So we'll revoke your visa, and once your visa is revoked, you're illegally in the country and you have to leave. Every country in the world has a right to decide who comes in as a visitor and who doesn't. If you invite me into your home because you say, I want to come to your house for dinner, and I go to your house and I start putting mud on your couch and spray painting your kitchen, I bet you're going to kick me out. Well, we're going to do the same thing if you come into the United States as a visitor and create a ruckus for us. We don't want it. We don't want it in our country. Go back and do it in your country. But you're not going to do it in our country.
Well said. Dina says, is that AI again? I thought the same thing. Something about Marco just seems fake now. Ortho says, we're tired of supporting the world and these bleeding hearts can't get it through their heads. Yep. Marrying illegal is illegal. Period. More tick info. This is from the Vigilant Fox.
People all across America are reporting an infestation of ticks, an epidemic, if you will. There is footage that's turning up and circulating across social media of animals, and we're not going to air that for you today, but we will describe it. Animals like deer and elk that aren't surviving the amount of ticks that are covering them, snakes dying because they're being seemingly killed by these ticks. A woman who has horses and has had horses for the past 30 years saying she no longer knows what to do to deal with this tick infestation that keeps plaguing her animals. On top of that, we're seeing footage of farmers having ticks dropped onto their properties.
I'm out here mushroom hunting and I found, there it is right there, the tick box. I'm not going to touch it because there's ticks.
So anyway, it's a 14-minute report. I encourage you to check it out. I'm ticked off by the ticks. Polita Rican says, let's check in a live look on the Thomas Massie cult. They're not doing too good. Unseen One says, I'm going to explain this as simply as I can for those that still don't understand. For those of you in Rio Linda, California, you do not get the results you got in Indiana, Louisiana, Kentucky with a sitting president in the low 30s approval rating. Therefore, the polls are fake. The reality shows Trump's approval is very high. What the final number is, no one knows because the polls are so fake anymore. But it's certainly not in the 30s. The results tell you that in flashing neon letters. Everyone in power that believed the polls should immediately do a gut check and change course because the media siren polls are driving you all into the rocks. Brianna Morello reports Brad Raffensperger loses gubernatorial primary in Georgia. Good, now indict him. Raffensperger helped the criminals steal the 2020 election in Georgia and ignored voters' calls for accountability, according to Brianna Morello. Cambridge City Council votes to discontinue the use of ShotSpotter technology to detect gunfire. This vote came after activists say it would impact black people and illegals the most. You can't make this up.
Racism and equity through the targeting of and
if there's a community of illegal aliens and or black people that are going to be impacted the most because ShotSpotter technology is detecting gunfire, is your problem with the technology identifying where the random gunshots are coming from, or the people squeezing the trigger? It's not the technology, people. It's not the tech.
Stop the use of ShotSpotter in our community. I'm concerned about the precedent we set as a city if we allow ShotSpotter devices to remain active and collect surveillance data in our streets without our city's ownership of the data, without a vote from the city council, and with direct perpetuating of systemic racism and inequity through the targeting of Cambridge's black.
No. What's systemic? No. You don't just get to say that shit. She says it real fast so nobody can call her out on it.
And with direct perpetuating of systemic racism and inequity through the target.
Inequity. What, of people who don't shoot other people? Yeah, there's an inequity there. Racism. There's nothing racist about stopping people from shooting other people. You stop the shooters, whatever they happen to look like, you imbecile.
Of Cambridge's black and brown communities, as many speakers before me have already spoken to. When we allow the infrastructure for surveillance to exist in our city, our community and each of us becomes vulnerable to the use of technology by anti-democratic forces like ICE, so we know ShotSpotter is funded by the DHS, as well as vulnerable to the erosion of trust between our neighbors, our community, and with our representatives. And to stop the use of ShotSpotter in our
Cambridge, everybody. Massachusetts. Harmeet Dillon talking about 29 states are being sued as Trump's DOJ is crushing the deep state voter scam. Take a look. To all the doomers who say nothing's happening, no, things are happening.
Justice Department suing 29 states and Washington, D.C., saying they're refusing to turn over voter roll data to federal investigators.
We're doing that to make sure that states are in compliance. And guess what? We found at least 350,000 dead people currently on the
Unreal.
voter rolls in those jurisdictions. And we've referred approximately 25,000 people with no citizenship records to the to Homeland Security to look at, dig into that further and see the extent to which people voted.
Meanwhile, as usual, voters appear to be on board for voter ID. Justice Department suing 29 states and Washington, D.C., saying they're refusing to turn over voter roll data to federal investigators.
We're doing that to make sure that states are in compliance. And guess what? We found at least 350,000 people.
Unreal. Go get them. Go get them all. Ken Paxton in Texas perfectly breaks down why Texas will never swing blue for James Tallarico. Enjoy this greatest hits.
There should be a giant welcome mat out front and a lock on the door.
Let's go into these really quickly together.
I don't know. That clip isn't quite as damning as they're trying to pretend it is. I've looked into that one.
How many genders do you suggest you might offer there are during the campaign?
It's pretty clear to me, too. Scientifically, it's true.
Is God non-binary?
No.
Is our border best described as the front porch of America?
No, just the opposite. We should protect the borders.
And then finally, is it true that you've seen many people from other religions who are more Christ-like than Christians?
Look, I would say this. There are people from other religions that do act Christ-like, but I'm a Christian, and I think that's something that I believe, that Christianity is the way. But I would say I've met non-Christians who act Christ-like, even if they're not Christians.
It's fairly certain that James Tallarico, should you be the eventual nominee as a Republican for Senate, we'll talk about some of your past, some of the...
There should be a giant welcome mat out front and a lock on the door.
Let's go into these really quickly together.
Tallarico. No. How about Kim Paxton? Trump back Ed Galrine just unloaded on Thomas Massie after his win.
Simply put, what we'd say in Kentucky, because I'm pretty plain spoken, is he went to Washington, he burned every bridge, he burned a bridge factory, he ran off everybody that would build a bridge to the conservative Republicans. But again, the left-wing Democrats, the radical Democrats loved him. And his votes against our party and our nation go farther back. Now, I want to add one other thing, Sean, for you and the viewers and our conservative Republican friends out there. Remember, it wasn't just President Trump. President Trump, nearly 78 million votes in the presidential race, the most ever for a Republican president. He won 31 states, including the swing states, and also 312 electoral votes. And here in this district, President Trump won by nearly 85%. He stood against us, but he liked to just single out President Trump. All that to say, it's a new day. These people deserve better, and I'm going to give it to them. Simply put, what we'd say in Kentucky, because I'm pretty plain spoken.
All right. Check in with Dr. Simone Gold, what the Biden admin did to her.
This journey wasn't an abstract for me. It's been really personal. For daring to speak the truth, I was arrested by the FBI, thrown into a cell, branded a terrorist by my own government. My teenage son, who was asleep in his bed in Los Angeles on January 6th, was followed by the TSA agents. He too was put on this watch list. My bank accounts were flagged, my reputation was attacked, and I was sentenced by a system that knew the accusations were false but refused to correct them. I don't know if you've seen the news in the last couple of days, but it's been absolutely confirmed that there were hundreds of undercover informants from the FBI present on January 6th. You know how they said, oh, there's none, and then they're like, oh, well, there's 2, or maybe there's 5. Yeah, no, the FBI so far has said that there's hundreds. So I tell the story in my book, Selective Persecution, the Legalization of American Fascism, and I did not write it as a pundit. I wrote it as a witness, because what happened to me could happen to anyone. This journey wasn't.
Yep, if you let one get away with it, more will get away with it. I'm sorry, there's a new fire in Los Angeles?
Continuing to burn. You can see that probably 6 feet or more of defensible space between that fire line and the neighborhood where
Ventura County?
this is burning. I'm not sure the exact street there where Rich is overhead, but we're watching as those flames get closer to structures. And we understand they are fighting this from above, Rich.
Yeah, they certainly are. Making those quick trips from Bard Reservoir in the Wood Ranch area and making their way east into the Bridle Path area. And you can see, fortunately...
Spencer Pratt says, while Karen Bass is worried about getting meth heads new grills, the LAFD has 36 less firefighters than we had when the Palisades fire hit. Folks, you need to vote like your life depends on it, because it does. Yes. Congressman John Rose, Tennessee, talking about what needs to happen. It's pretty much what we've been saying.
Are these senators doing enough? And is disappointment enough right now?
No, I don't think so, and I don't think they're doing enough. They need to be calling out their leadership. They need to be driving their colleagues to do what over 80% of Americans want done. And, you know, we've heard a lot of recriminations in recent days and weeks about redistricting so that we can hold the House. The best way to hold the House and the best way to hold the Senate is to deliver on the promises made to the American people. And the Save America Act, I would put at the top of that list. So the Senate needs to get its job done. If Republicans want to continue to control the Senate, then they need to deliver on the agenda that over 80% of Americans are calling for.
Are these senators doing?
Yep, just do it. Rob Schneider says, Dear Bill Maher, I'm waiting for your apology for you yelling at me on your podcast about the January 6th insurrection. That turns out to be an inside job with 26 FBI confidential human sources. We shall see. Senator Ron Johnson, why are Democrats seemingly running Congress?
Is there any way possible
to sort of create a longer-term visibility about where our economy is, about how much spending we're going to have, about our commitments out there, because it feels like shenanigans more than anything else, and I just think all Americans are really getting tired of it.
But we need to stop allowing the Democrats and the minority to run the Senate, to destroy this country. And that's why I reluctantly have called to end the filibuster. The Senate is broken. There's not much left the filibuster anyway. A lot of my Republican colleagues just refuse to vote to give Democrats the tool that they're going to take anyway. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. When they have the power, they'll end the filibuster. They'll complete their goal of turning America into a one-party nation, Puerto Rico, D.C. into states, this pack the Supreme Court, nationalize their elections. So that's the path we're on. I want to prevent that by passing good legislation to secure our election. That means we have to end the filibuster. We don't have the votes right now in the Republican conference to do that, though.
Yeah, find them. Figure it out. Quantum Guard says, wow, even 60 Minutes just had to admit President Trump was right all along. Iran had nearly 1,000 pounds of highly enriched uranium, enough material. If you enrich it just a little bit more for 10 to 11 nuclear bombs, Trump is eliminating the threat. 60 Minutes, let's play this.
UN inspectors believe Iran has close to 1,000 pounds of uranium enriched to 60%, nearly ready to be used in a nuclear weapon. 970 pounds of 60% highly enriched uranium. What can you do with that?
So that is enough material for, if you enrich it just a little bit more, for 10 to 11 nuclear bombs. Iran has been lying about its nuclear weapons effort for over 20 years now. They have always claimed our program was 100% peaceful. We were never pursuing nuclear weapons. That's a lie. And then once the international inspectors got in and started finding some things out, the Iranians kept lying to them.
Brian Cates says Trump is going to prove where that uranium came from, who sold it to the Iranians. Or rather, he's going to prove who gave the uranium and the missile tech to their proxy regime in Tehran. After he proves who gave the mullahs the stuff, we're going to try some people in military tribunals and then execute them when they are judged guilty based on the evidence for treason. Perhaps. Scott Pressler warned them. Why didn't they listen?
To this person, I make a promise right here and now. If Senate Majority Leader Thune does not pass the Save America Act, then I am going to Texas. Senate Majority Leader Thune wants to protect John Cornyn in the Senate, the incumbent, and the May 26th primary Senate runoff is coming up. So everybody in Texas, you have the opportunity. If Thune isn't going to give us what we want, then we are going to take away what he has. And in Louisiana, you have Senator Cassidy, who is up for election on Tuesday, November 3rd, 2026. If he doesn't get 50% of the vote, it goes to a runoff in December. And just so this person knows, with my platform, this year I've already been to Indiana, Florida, Pennsylvania, Utah to help with redistricting. I'm going to Indiana for the Cinco de Mayo primary. I've been going to Virginia for the April 21st referendum. I hope people vote no. We have a primary in Pennsylvania on May 19th. So no, I promise you, I am using my platform.
And now we're right past this line.
I'm probably respectfully one of the only influencers on the ground doing the actual boots on the ground work. So you have my commitment that I'm going to continue putting in that work.
There you go.
Indeed.
This guy has been very successful in the past. So that's a massive white pill for you.
Texas definitely needs you, man. So just for the last part of your question, you said.
Yep. More to come. Oh, did you check? I didn't tell you this story about the helicopter. I saw this a couple days ago. We'll play it here.
The fraud files are back. Primetime's hunting down corruption, waste, and abuse. In Illinois, a mom rented a helicopter for her daughter's prom night. But the mom, Quintina Brown, works for the Parks Department and is accused of using tax dollars to book the chopper. An invoice shows she charged $800 to a government credit card. Quintina says there was no misuse of funds at all. She just wanted to give her kid an unforgettable experience. Police shut down the prom photo shoot. They say it landed in the park without a permit. One of Biden's special little projects is also getting shut down. Biden wanted to give sex toys to female vets. The VA said it was for patient recovery. The vibrators went for $360 a pop. Sorry, ladies, you are now on your own. Women were also getting busy in California. The DOJ charged Anika Armstrong with a felony for paying homeless people to register to vote in California. She allegedly went down to Skid Row, paid him just a couple bucks, and used her former address on the paperwork. Every time Democrats say something's impossible, it happens. And I don't think they were voting for Spencer Pratt. All roads lead back to the fraud capital, though, Minnesota, where the alleged mastermind behind the Somali fraud ring just fingered Ilhan Omar. She thinks Omar knew they were stealing millions, and in a jailhouse interview with the Post, she said, quote, "I struggle to believe that she wouldn't have known." Now, we don't know if Omar's part of the scam or what's going on in her marriage, but the frauds are he's on the case.
I don't want to prejudge an investigation. I mean, you read the things about Ilhan Omar and about, who she married and whether she didn't marry this person or that person. It certainly seems like something fishy is there, but everybody's entitled to equal justice under the laws. So we're going to investigate it. We're going to take a look at it. If we think that there's a crime, we're going to prosecute that crime. And that's something the Department of Justice is looking at right now.
It's not just Omar. Tonight, Nancy Pelosi might be sweating.
I am a big fan of banning members of Congress from trading stocks. So is the President of the United States. All of us believe that nobody should be taking proprietary information gained from public service and buying and selling stocks. We want to ban that process. And I think the way to lead by example is banning that process, banning that approach, and making it illegal, which is exactly what the president has proposed doing.
We'll see where that goes. Babylon B says, conservative primary voters excited to choose which politician will betray them next. That's pretty good. Super excited. Who will betray us next? Former NBA beast Chris Dudley is smashing radical Democrat Governor Tina Kotek in Oregon. New poll has Dudley up by 4 points. Oregon is a disaster under her watch. Crime, costs, and chaos. Time to rebound this state and make it red again.
16 years in the NBA. And the key to my success wasn't buzzer beater threes. It was rebounds.
Goes Dudley, the offensive rebound.
5,400 times I put the ball back in my team's hands to win. And Oregon needs a rebound. We're going backwards on education, affordability, and safety. Oregon needs something new to win again. I'm Chris Dudley, and I'm running for governor.
Paid for by Dudley for Oregon. PAC ID 24693.
16 years in the NBA. And the key to my success wasn't buzzer beater threes.
All right, so all eyes on Oregon. How is that going to play out? Tennessee Governor Bill Lee has officially signed the state's new congressional maps into law. Tennessee will soon have 9 Republicans and 0 Democrats in Congress. All the Democrats screeching today did not work. Law schools are leaning left hard. I think that is what I wanted to share with you. Did I read these yesterday? No, there's a couple more. Yeah, law school is very far left. Scott Jennings discussing America being in a spiritual war.
Scott, are Christians really being silenced? I have not seen that.
I have not seen Christians being silenced. Then you're not paying attention and you're being disingenuous, probably.
In any way, shape, or form. And you're looking at me like I'm crazy.
Certainly Christians feel that way. They feel often that they're marginalized in politics, marginalized
in mainstream media. We have Christian persecution going on around the world. We have slaughtered Christians in Africa that nobody seems to, I don't see any protests on college campuses for them. I think within the Christian community, there is a sense that voices and lives are being silenced all over this world. And in this particular case, you had a lot of speakers there that had a lot of different messages. The one that I liked the most came from Dr. Larry Arnn, who is the president of Hillsdale College. You know, he gave a speech about Lincoln's second inaugural, which came at the end of the Civil War and talked about the division in our country and how we had to have national unity following this period of extreme division in our country. I think messages like that, I mean, Lincoln, it was what Lincoln talked about in his second inaugural was absolutely divinely inspired, in my opinion. It came right out of the Christian context, and that's what Dr. Arnn spoke about in his speech. So I think if we're going to have some national unity in this country, political division has driven us apart, but it may.
But yeah, that was a really good point. I don't know, consult the slaughtered Christians in Nigeria or the nuns that Biden wanted to throw in jail.
Maybe faith that drives us back together, and I think Christians love the idea of not being marginalized any further and, in fact, being at the center of some sort of national reconciliation.
You have a president who was told a lot of lies.
Well, I mean,
oh, for the love of God. You have a presidential candidate, a former vice president. Look, I lied a lot. You know the thing. I lied a lot, but only Republicans will get called out on it.
Look, we know from investigations of the last administration that there were prosecutors in the Department of Justice who were talking about their desire to throw nuns in jail, particularly ones that wear the habit. Now, that sounds like Christian persecution to me. Look, we have separation of church and state in this country. We do not live in a theocracy, but at the same time, that does not mean we have to marginalize, make fun of, or otherwise slough off to the side people that have deeply held religious views. You mentioned Jews. We have a massive spike in hate crimes and violent crimes against Jews in this country. That's absolutely the case. These are also people of faith, and these are also people that deserve our protection and our arms being wrapped around them at the same time. But that's what I saw in this event, national reconciliation around the idea that we are one nation under God, that we do put our arms around people of faith and say, you're welcome to practice your faith here. That's what we do in America.
Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon says, very proud of my civil rights team, arguing that our federal civil rights laws do indeed require the Justice Department to obtain state voter registration lists, such as the ones in Oregon and California, to help states clean their voter rolls. Brian Cates says, require is the key word in this post. Require. You're going to see some amazing shit go down in the next couple of weeks, he says. States are literally going to start being told they will not be allowed to hold elections for federal office until they're in compliance with federal law. ABC News says as many as 19 members of the Congressional Black Caucus. Is there a Congressional White Caucus, by the way? That's how you make the joke. Yeah, but it's significantly smaller than the Congressional Black Caucus. There's a few jokes in there. As many as 19 members of the Congressional Black Caucus, almost a third of its membership, are at risk of losing their seats through the 2028 cycle. Tim Young says, yeah, ABC left out the part where they don't allow Republicans to join. That seems relevant. Speaking of irrelevant, let's go backwards from that. ABC News again, co-host Joy Behar. Oh, she's got some lies about President Trump.
Okay. First of all, you lie down with dogs, you wake up with fleas. All right, that's number one. And you know, I like Mark Cuban. I've always liked him, but this is a mistake. And once Trump puts his name on prescriptions, we're all going to die. Okay? Yeah. He put his name on the.
That's an insane thing to say. You twit.
This is a mistake. And once Trump puts his name on prescriptions, we're all going to die, okay? Yeah. He put his name on the Trump shuttle, the Trump vodka, the Trump University, the Trump hotel.
Trump States,
and my
too.
favorite, the casinos, they all went bankrupt.
Yeah.
The drugs
Do not go there,
The drugs
Mark.
don't actually have his name. They're existing drugs.
Whatever.
It's a
If he's
marketplace for-
involved with it.
No, I literally
push back.
a
What is
medication that I had to take for IVF is a tenth of the price on Trump RX. I don't, whatever. It's tacky that his name is on it. Mark Cuban has dedicated his life to bringing down prescription drug costs. The average family, 1/3 of Americans cut back on essential foods and utilities to be able to cover their prescription drug costs. You're not going to convince me that just because Trump's involved, we should be like, screw it, don't bring down prescription drug costs.
If he's going to make a profit out of it, don't take it.
I completely agree with that.
Americans
I agree with
If he's going to make a profit, don't take it. She's so smug with her little comment.
Don't take it.
I completely agree with that.
Americans
I agree with you, Joy, on this one.
No.
He is a failed businessman, and if you heard what he said,
What is he, 6 trillion? Sounds pretty failed to me.
he said, we both want to make people wealthy. He didn't say
So I should pay 10
He said to me that there's something in it for him. This is not a well-intentioned
The presidency
person.
is something he cashes
Yeah, I'm sure he wants to make people sick. So stupid.
in on Sunny, but what this does is it helps Sarah, he
American
is not a
people.
well-intentioned person. He is not doing this from the out of
You
the
guys are
goodness of
naive.
his
Nobody
heart.
thinks
Doing
he's-
this to make
Wow.
money.
No one thinks he's doing
Joy,
it out of
we're
the
the
goodness of
wealthiest
his heart.
country and we pay the most for
There
drugs.
could be
the people
shortcuts
that are
involved.
literally suffering illnesses and cannot pay for their medicine, I can't think of a sicker business model. Bring down the prices, and if you're going to get results on this, call it Donald Trump medicine. I don't care what you call it.
There are countries all
Excuse me. Shut up.
I don't care what you
Excuse
call
me.
it.
There are countries all over this world, especially in Scandinavia.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're going at that again. You know all the countries that were benefiting, America was paying the drug tab for every other country. You heard that? We weren't getting favored nation status on the pricing. That's changed now. That seems relevant. Very relevant.
That have national health insurance.
Correct.
They do
Yeah,
not
they're
want to have
smaller
that.
than New
That
Jersey,
would bring
like
down the
America.
cost of drugs and health care.
But in the
they don't want that.
They have
call that
concepts of a
socialism.
plan, Joy,
Okay,
and right now this is a
You
plan.
are so
I'm going to go with
naive,
it.
the two
In
of
the
you.
mean-
Wow.
so you're
The two of you are so naive.
You're saying,
So naive.
if I may speak, so you're saying that in the meantime, while he remains in office for the next 2 years, people should just not have access to cheaper drugs because Trump put
They
his name
should.
on it?
Anything he
But
touches is
that's-
tainted. I don't trust it.
Today, I can literally order a prescription drug that I need for a tenth of the cost because of this, and it's not
Don't
just giving
believe
Trump credit.
anything he says,
It's
Alyssa.
real. Go
Joy, there's
literally
even
look it
higher.
up. It is right there. I can get Follistim.
Okay. Yep, as many as 25 candidates endorsed by him won tonight. It was 37, actually. J.D. Vance pushing the Save America
I'm
Act.
not asking you to support congressional Republican leadership because you agree with everything Republicans do in Congress. I get frustrated with them from time to time. By the way, pass the SAVE Act. That's something they need to do. But even, I'm not going to tell you I'm right about everything, except maybe I am. But I'm not. You're going to disagree with me from time to time. Of course you are. You're going to disagree with the President of the United States from time to time. That is the nature of living in a society with as big and diverse a population as we have. So I'm not asking you to vote for Republicans because we're right about everything. I'm asking you to vote for Republicans because at least we know who we fight for. And we fight for you.
At least we know who we fight for. Hello, Miraculous. Saying Trump RX doesn't even offer generics. I asked that to X, and it says, yes, Trump RX now covers and features hundreds of generics. May 18th, the Trump admin announced a major expansion of Trump RX, adding more than 600 generic medications to the platform. This makes the site nearly 7 times larger than before and provides price transparency for common low-cost generics. All right. So I guess that's a thing that's happening. And that feels good. And we all learned something today. I'm glad I had to look that up, and I'm glad that was the answer. John Solomon reports Michigan Senate leader asks DOJ to investigate Gretchen Whitmer over $20 million in a fraud scheme. Of course, John Thune needs to go next. Rob Schneider and Scott Pressler agree. What's the projected electoral college after the 2030 census? Better.
The movement of people to places like Florida and Texas. I know your business is in Miami as well as New York. It looks like because of that demographic shift, GOP could pick up 7 seats and the Democrats could lose 7 seats in these blue states thanks to these policies. But they don't seem to be wise to that, or at least they don't care enough about it. They'd rather tax people out of some of these places. The movement of people
Taxing people out of there. All right. Matt Van Swole asks about Thomas Massie. You've been in elected office for 9 years. Guess when your first post about Epstein was? 2017, 2020, 2023? Nope. December 25. This is the post. Please explain why you suddenly became interested in speaking out about them after being silent for your entire career. Vote Hub projects Sarah Warren to win Georgia State Supreme Court election. Tens of millions of dollars. President Barack Obama says Eric W. and the entire Democrat establishment took on a nonpartisan judge simply doing her job. And Georgia said, nope, not buying it. Talk about a white pill. A white pill or a red pill? Trump endorsed coach Tommy Tuberville. We call him Coach.
He's a great coach. And I won't say anything about what happened with Alabama football this weekend.
Let's leave that out.
But you're not used to that, right? You're not used to that. But Tommy, Auburn won, that's right. They did. So you're happy. Tommy's been a great senator, as you know, and a fantastic guy all around. He was also a tremendous coach. House Armed Services is a great coach. And I won't say anything about what happened with Alabama football this weekend.
Tommy Tuberville won the GOP gubernatorial primary in Alabama. Another Trump enemy falls is Raffensperger. Loses Georgia primary. Yep, I told you about that. Benny Johnson says, I was informed that MAGA is dead by the retard right. Yet tonight, Thomas Massie was defeated in a landslide by his Trump plus 40 district. Impeachment Bill Cassidy humiliated in Louisiana and didn't even make the runoff. 5 impeachment GOP senators lost. 10 of 10 House Republicans who voted to impeach Trump lost. Okay. That seems like a pretty powerful record. Indiana state senators lost in a bloodbath. Trump has a 95% endorsement victory rate. Kind of impressive. While the Bush, Cheney, Romney, Pence, McCain dynasties are dead, MAGA is alive and well. So great political takes, guys. Now put the fries in the bags. End Wokeness wonders why 8 injured as a car rams into pedestrians in the Italian city of Modena. Car plows into vehicle rams. 8 injured after car plows. Why did the car do that? Well, the answer is a car didn't do that. That was a person. And they must be hiding something with their choice in headlines. Ken Paxton says one of the reasons President Trump endorsed him over Cornyn because Trump knew that Paxton would fight hard for the Save America Act. You screwed up, Cornyn, says Nick Sorter. You had your chance and you blew it. Save America Act must be passed. Florida busts a massive international child abuse ring with 1 million videos involved, including babies. Good job, Florida. Rasmussen flashes back to Georgia Governor Kemp awarding a $107 million contract to Dominion 2 weeks after meeting with People's Republic of China. Left's election fraud denials crumble as DOJ exposes a 2-decade-long California cheating scheme. Supreme Court found that government illegally charged hundreds of J6ers with a 20-year felony, and every American should be livid about that. Rand Paul says we rejected 57 amendments thrown at us today, trying to defund ICE or block Trump's border security. Millions crossed illegally under Biden. That's over, and we're funding border security. First time in 41 years, Mitch McConnell will not be a GOP senator from Kentucky over 4 decades. Andy Barr just won the GOP nomination, replacing Mitch McConnell. McConnell is everything wrong with politics. He would have kept going if he was even close to capable. The age breakdown of who supports and opposes Massie is fascinating. GOP in 10 years is going to look radically different than it does today. Maybe, says Lauren Chen. Islamic Center shooter hated Trump and called for Trump and Vance to be assassinated, says Libs of TikTok, sharing Amy Reichert. Abigail Spanberger, MJ Truth Ultra, calls it treason. Virginia Democrat CIA Governor Abigail Spanberger is signing a surprise executive order that'll refuse state cooperation with federal law enforcement officers and to block them from polling places. The only reason you want to block federal officers from polling places is if you plan on doing something illegal. Every single one of these people belong in Gitmo, he says.
Hello, Nick Shirley. Nice to meet you. Your sign says, "We do not vote for open borders, digital ID, higher taxes, two-tier policing, loss of free speech, pedophiles in politics, higher cost of living, Starmer out, restore Britain." Yeah. What's your message to Keir Starmer today? Keir Starmer's a wanker.
Everything in the mandate is backtracked on. He's added things in that wasn't mandated, like digital ID. It doesn't listen to the British public. He's just had a landslide vote and he still is ignorant.
He needs to go.
He needs to stop branding hard-working Brits as far right. We just want to be heard and he's ignoring us.
How do you feel about the mass surveillance here of your government?
I feel like if you can do that to your own people, why can't you monitor more closely the people you're letting in who are abusing our women and children, who are taking taxpayers' money, who are living better lives than the people who are working really hard in this country, who live here, who are proud of where we are. We don't oppose immigration. We just don't want to have them prioritised above us. We're losing our culture and identity. It's not fair. We've had enough.
Bravo. England might have a chance. Election rigging rhino. Brad Raffensperger, says Sean Davis in Georgia. Coming in third. Got absolutely smoked. Burt Jones and Rick Jackson. Sarah Hawkins Warren. Victory locks in the Republican-appointed conservative control of Georgia Supreme Court through 28. Helpful, since it was one of those fraud states. The turtle is on his way out. Yes, Mitch McConnell's gone. And yeah, San Diego police are flat out refusing to name yesterday's mosque shooters. Why, you ask? Nick Sorter is saying because it was a trans couple. This is not the first time I've seen this. I don't know if this is accurate or not. California leftists are actively covering up trans violence, he says, but where's the source? Here, let me actually ask. Heckrock, is this confirmed? Don't know. David Harris reports that Lisa Murkowski was the only Republican to vote nay on the test vote for the Save America Act. Fantastic. But hey, yes, Marion, ditch Mitch. He gone. He didn't get beat. He's just, he's gonna hang him up at the end of this term. Is YouTube adding comments because I see nothing from me? Oh, okay. Gotcha. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. A lot that we got to today, and there'll be even more tomorrow. Stay tuned in. My shift is just about up. I got to clock out over there, but I'm going to hand you your tab for today, hanging out here in the bar and restaurant with me. Of course, it says $0. I've ran it through the credit card machine for you, but there is a line for a tip. If anybody enjoyed the program and want to support independent media for 15 years, hit the New American Media, digging through the rubbish, rifling through the rubbish, separating fake news from fact. That's what we do. You can become a monthly subscriber on Patreon or Rumble or YouTube. Please consider doing that. You can grab some silver coins and throw them into the tip jar back there. Rumble rant tip, super chat tip. You just tap the thing and slide a tip over. I'll just slide that over to you if anyone wants to do something like that. Also, Venmo, Cash App is my name, Brian Engelman, and PayPal is fuzzinstallment@yahoo.com. We plan on being back here tomorrow at noon, digging into the rest of this. Thank you to everybody in chat, David and Dina and Marion and Kenneth and John and Miraculous and Ortho and who am I leaving out? Trash Panda, all the people. I'm just scrolling, but you know who you are. And the person that jumped in. Mark. Oops, gotta go. Okay. When nature calls, you gotta go. Thank you so much. Go out and have the best rest of your day imaginable. Signing out on behalf of everybody out there in the TNAM universe. I appreciate you. I love you, and we'll talk to you again soon. Take care, everybody. Peace.
Your guide to the truth. TheNewAmericanMedia.com.